Sean's going to keep Zach. Zach's happy. Who wants to start? Is it Miracles or Delver? It's Delver.
We might have to run swapsies here.
Yeah, looks like we have O'Rourke on the left. See, now I like Zach Raph even more because he's got the hat on.
Sure.
Now I'm just not even neutral positive. Now it's just positive.
You're bigger on the hat than the Transformer shirt?
I think hats are sweet.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I'm interested to see what the value is of playing something like Dig Through Time in Miracles as opposed to something like Treasure Cruise. I guess you're more in the market to be selecting for specific things rather than raw card count.
Yeah, I think that Dig Through Time could actually be good in Miracles because, as you mentioned, you are looking for specific things.
As opposed to a deck like Blue Red Delver, your deck's kind of just a pile of the same stuff.
Yeah.
In Miracles, there's a pretty large gap between your best cards and your worst cards, especially since many of them are circumstantial. When you want Terminus, you really want Terminus. There's no real analog in the Blue-Red Delver deck for that sort of thing.
Here's a Ponder. Take a look at the top three. That's going to stay. Ponder does resolve. So we're going to go to O'Rourke's turn. He's going to sacrifice the Scalding Tarn. Down to 18.
Is that a Grafdigger's Cage in Zach's hand?
I think so. I'm checking for ways that would be relevant in the matchup. Of course, the obvious interaction is Snapcaster Mage, but that's not showing up here in the deck list. There's 4 Delvers, 4 Young Pyromancers, and 4 Monster Swift Sparrows, things that we're used to from this deck. So I'd be a little bit surprised if Cage isn't after board.
Yep. Another small addition I like to Sean's deck is the full 3 copies of Fort Bolt, because I think the Elves matchup is a challenge for Blue-Red Delver. A lot of the times these lists are on 1 copy of Chain Lightning 2 Fort Bolts. I like going up to 3 Fort Bolts.
This is a huge defense of the Young Pyromancer. Force of Willing, a Source of Plowshares targeting it. Red Blast is going to take care of the Force of Will. Now here's a Ponder.
Now it's sort of a freebie for Sean to fight because he wants to generate tokens anyway. And Young Pyromancer is so valuable if it goes unchecked that I like picking a fight there.
Going to keep with the Ponder again. This is definitely a cantrip. That's a Ponder. O'Rourke's going to take a look at his top 3. Ponder will resolve. Young Pyromancer will actually be moved to exile from the Source of Plowshares.
Definitely matters in a matchup that involves Treasure Cruise.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Gonna keep with the Ponder here. Pick up a copy of Brainstorm. Flooded Strand comes down. And no follow-up yet. There's a Brainstorm.
For those of you who are watching this Blue-Red Delver deck for the first time, you can see exactly how good this deck is filling up its graveyard.
Looks like we're going to have Flooded Strand in response to the Brainstorm. Search for a land, because he knows his top couple of cards. So.
Yeah.
A little bit of odd sequencing there. And search for a 3rd Volcanic Island, as there are no wastelands to worry about here. So hit 1, 2, and 3 here for O'Rourke. It's a Forked Bolt, a Delver of Secrets, and now a Force of Will.
This is typically a spot where I would be saying the Blue-Red Delver player is in trouble. They haven't really gotten enough going in this game, and the Miracle deck is pretty close to being able to set up some stuff. But because Treasure Cruise is present in the Blue-Red Delver deck, that may allow the Delver deck to overpower from the spot where typically it can't.
Yeah, there's a lot of staying power. Treasure Cruise can refill you. There's no counterbalance out there for Raph yet either.
Or Divining Top, most importantly.
Yeah. See the hand there, though. It's Arid Mesa. There's a source of plowshares to get that off the table. There's also a Red Blast. And there's another aggressive use of Force of Will, moving a Ponder. Here's a Brainstorm, I believe, in response. So we'll take a look at 3 cards here, an Island among them. 2 cards will have to go back, of course.
It's a little risky for Zach to Brainstorm in response here. I probably would have just Pyroblasted straight away, because if this Pyroblast now gets dazed,
that's bad news.
It's some trouble.
Two cards got to go back. Raph trying to figure out what they're going to be. Again, we're on Zach's main phase here, so all this is taking place right now. He hasn't played a land yet. Don't know if he has a fetch land to play or not to make it kind of a perfect brainstorm, really shuffle things away.
It looks like he's dumping him Arid Mesa back into the top 2.
There's a dig through time among the cards. He's going to play a land, so Delver is in there. All right.
I suppose, yeah, Zach does not need to Red Blast in response, so I guess he can just let this happen, but...
Here's an attack for 4. Fork Bolt's going upstairs.
Boom.
Pass the turn back. And I think we might be digging. Yep. There are plenty of cards to remove down there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, digging is probably pretty easy in this deck.
Yep.
It does play a boatload of fetch lands too. So Raph will get to take a look at the top 7 cards. Pick 2 of them, of course. I got a feeling this card's going to make its way in the Legacy Circles pretty soon here.
I think so too. The problem with Dig Through Time in this deck is, you know, the cards go back on the bottom, and so many of your high-powered plays involve setting up the top of your deck. So Dig Through Time is not that efficient as far as that goes, but I think the selection is still worth it.
So Raph will draw, play a Flooded Strand for the turn. There's the Sensei's Divine Top, most important card for the deck. Gonna spin that, it looks like right now. Take a look at the top 3 cards. Brainstorm among them. You also see, is it Static Caster?
Not surprising to see Static Caster come in.
Yeah.
Very good against Young Pyromancer. Not a bad blocker against Monastery Swift Spear either.
Swords off the top. Gonna take care of the Flip Delver. And it's time for a draw. In for 1, Raph's gonna go down to 11. Pithing Needle, timely.
I believe this will name Sensei's Divining Top.
I have a feeling you're correct. And that will warrant a sacrificing of Flood Strand so that Raph does not draw Sensei's Divining Top. So, now with Top locked out of the game, Raph has a fetch land and a Pyroblast and looking for help with the draw step.
And this is a bit of a shame for Zach too, because the top of his deck was so good. He had a Static Caster and a Brainstorm. But he can't afford that dead draw at this point, so he's just got to let it go.
All right, time for a draw. Counterbalance off the top. More dangerous than you would think.
A lot of blind reveals for this deck, especially against a deck that's playing with a bunch of cheap cards itself.
What O'Rourke's looking for is a card like Treasure Cruise. Here's a Brainstorm. Take a look. Counterbalances the reveal. Brainstorm's going to resolve. We think there is a Pyroblast there, I suppose. I think Raph is actually considering countering this. Yep. So he's going to Pyroblast the Brainstorm.
And now I would assume that he's going to go ahead and crack this fetch land, because he doesn't want to draw the second counterbalance.
Yeah. Yep, there that goes. You can tell that Raph wants to save the Pyroblast for Treasure Cruise.
Yeah.
Because it's a card that Counterbalance will not be countering. He's a little bit afraid, so he took care of the Brainstorm.
So I'm a little bit surprised to see that, though, because the only other card that he's worried about, you know, if he draws Treasure Cruise, that's fine, the Pyroblast covers it. The only other card he has to be really worried about, Sean finding in this spot, I think, is Young Pyromancer, which is the counterbalance on top of the deck locks out.
So See what the draw is going to be. Not a miracle, just a fetch land. Pass the turn back. O'Rourke will draw a card, still chipping away with that elemental token. In for 1. See what this is going to be. Forked Bolt going to go upstairs. Trigger. Scalding Tarn. That'll likely cause another sacrifice with the Flooded Strand. Let's see what this is going to be. Lightning Bolt. I like responding to this.
Yeah, he's got to try. The problem is that now this puts Zach at, if this resolves, he falls to 1, so it has to be an answer. But the upside of revealing a 1 here is huge. Can't just let this Bolt resolve.
Time to shuffle up and hope for the best. So a mystery reveal from a counterbalance coming here.
And if this is a land, Zach's just dead.
Yep.
Or another counterbalance.
I believe that's the Sensei's Divining Top.
All right, well.
That's the draw. Pass the turn back because top is being locked down by Needle. That's a Treasure Cruise.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yep. That'll keep you in the game. Reveal with the counterbalance. Probably not worth it.
Dig through time.
Okay.
He has his own name now.
Yeah. All right. You're right. It was a Jace the Mind Sculptor. So now we know. The reason I guess the reason I don't want to reveal is I don't want my opponent to know the coast is clear for their 1-drops. But I suppose if you have Dig Through Time in your deck, yeah, you should be revealing. Here's a Brainstorm. Clear for takeoff.
I'm surprised to see Zach brainstorm here because I thought the last card in his hand was True Name Nemesis, which he could have just cast.
It's a Treasure Cruise.
Oh, excuse me, Treasure Cruise. Never mind. If it's Lightning Bolt, though, that locks it up.
Yep. And that's what it's going to be. An attack for 1, Lightning Bolt for 3. And Sean O'Rourke is going to win this match over Zach Raph. 2-1. Blue-Red Delver takes down Jeskai Miracles. Delver moves on to 5-0. We saw a couple of these in the top 8 last weekend in Worcester. We saw it win in New Jersey, and it's on its way yet again here in Minneapolis.
The deck is very good,
yes.
And Treasure Cruise is an entirely new dimension. You used to be able to weather the storm against decks like Blue-Red Delver by just playing a couple of removal spells on their key threads, let them spin their tires for a while, trying to cantrip and find other threats. In the meantime, you could be doing proactive things, and then at the end of the day, their threats are pretty anemic. Now with Treasure Cruise, that play pattern doesn't work anymore because they can just gas back up, force you to trade 1 for 1 again, and it's just a challenging package to overcome. It is